Today I'm going to be replacing CV axles on a 1989 Nissan D21. I'm going to go over some of the tools you're going to need. Going to need some brake clean. Going to need wood block for hammering out the end of the CV axle. Probably a torque wrench, a hammer, and you can use impacts or ratchets, it doesn't matter. So, let's jack this thing up. Let's see if it's picking up there. And it's going to be a little windy there, so sorry about the wind noise. And to get under on the frame rail there. And I'd recommend you put some jack stands under here after you get done jacking it up. Look out for your cross member there. You just want it on a section of frame rail where there's no cross member or anything to hit. And if you're using ratchets, you should break loose your lug nuts first. But I have an impact I'm going to be using. Alright. See that spot right there? That's where we're going to put the jack stand. Jack stand under there. As you can see, it's right by the torsion bar here. And alright, just let that down. Back and let it down real easy on that jack stand. There we go. Alright. That works. It looks like it's pretty good. Alright. Now let's take the tire off. And depending on your lug nut size, you're either going to want a 21 millimeter or a 19 millimeter. So I'll get back with that in just a second. Alright, I got my 19 millimeter here. Let's take this lug nuts off. Make sure when you're doing this, you got somewhere to save them. You don't lose them. Can't just do this with the ratchet, it's not that hard. Get your tire off. Now we're down to the hubs. This is a 4-wheel drive D21. It's 1989. I'm going to take this caliper off. And that hub assembly. You can see that right there. Alright, I'm going to go grab some baling wire and stuff for this. Back in just a little bit. Alright, now we're going to take the caliper off. Fingers got in there. This is 2 19 millimeter nuts on the back here, or bolts. Sometimes these can be pretty tight. Once you get done taking this off, just hang it up here on the frame rail with some wire or whatever you got that will hold this up. these two. Damn it, I can't see nothing. Two bolts off. Lighting is just horrible in here. Two. Let's see it. Bolts off. Thing's not coming yet. Now the brake caliper should come off, and you can hang it up. So get baling wire or zip tie or something. Take it off, go through, I don't know, one of the bolt holes or something on here. There. Alright, now we're on to the hubs. See these bolts, there's 6 of them. Think around there. And just take them off with the open end or something, or you can get, I'll show you, you can get a 1/4 inch dry ratchet with the extension in there too. I'll be back with that in a second. Alright, we're back. We got my 13mm here. Pick that up. Taking those off of there. See that. You might have to hold that when you break them loose, but then they should just come off pretty quick. Usually there will be like RTV in here to keep the grease out of your hubs and your bearings and stuff. Get the idea, just take, kind of guided out the last couple of threads or something. Not sure if this is the same. I have woolen hubs. Your auto hubs are going to be a little different too. Yes, I think your manual one should be pretty similar. You might have to start on the end here, taking it off. Let's take. Ooh. Looks like I got my socket caught in there. Looks like the bolt's out. socket out of there. Alright, now I've got that first one out. Just go around and do all 6 here. Break them loose and take them out. I'll get back to you when that's done. Alright, I just got done taking the bolt for this hub off. I have these. I think I took them off last time. Let me get back to you when I figure out how to take this off. Alright, so I took the hub apart. It's 6 Allen head screws in there, and there is a snap ring on the end there. So we're going to take that out. Alright, now I got my snap rings working here. My snap ring pliers working here, I think. Stick them in there like that. And I'll try to get that in there. Okay. So there's a snap ring. I can't get it off. Let's see in there. It's gotta be a snap ring right there. Yeah, it is. Alright. Alright, I'll get back to you when I take that snap ring off. Alright, I have that snap ring off. So let's see what we got here. I want some paper towels for this job too, because it's going to get greasy. Alright, we got 2 little screws here that you're going to take out. They're still heavy. So you can do that. And then right behind that will be the lock washer. So, get that. You guys have a good view of it here. Alright. Where's that? These are pretty soft screws. Make sure you don't strip them out. If you do, they're an M8 size. I think you can go into Home Depot and buy them. So just make sure you got your bit seated in there real good before you start messing with them, or they will strip out. All right. Here's what you're working with. That's a pretty tiny screw there. I think this thing just spins off the spindle here. Alright, there we go. Here's our 2 tiny screws. And make sure. Let's see. I think you get this guy off here if you just shimmy it off or what. Try. Actually, I think I have. Here's that tool. Should prying that out of there with a flathead. I'm gonna go get a good flathead screwdriver and pry this guy. Pry that out of there. Alright, I'll be back in a bit. Alright, so I noticed that the lighting wasn't the best, so I got a light in here. Hopefully that'll help out a little bit, but found out you can just take this off with the screwdriver once you remove those 2 little screws. And also, if you're using you're using hand tools and on impact, I'd advise you have somebody hold the brakes or put a brick on the brakes and brake these six CV. Let's see if I can get in there. Those 6 CV axle bolts loose with the foot on the brake. Alright, so now we're the next part where we have to get the camera down here where you guys can see. We're going to take this lock washer for the wheel bearings out. And you can pick up a tool for this lock washer on the internet places and at auto parts stores. I'll put the part number in there. Okay, that's just grease in there. So the way this thing works is they usually fit a 1/2 inch ratchet and take it, and these should not be very tight at all. And I'm not sure the previous owner, it doesn't feel super tight, did that or not, but just spin it out there. And then 2-year wheel bearing here. Let's see. Should come pretty quick here. It's off, it seems like. So there's your outer wheel bearing there, I think. Call it. Should probably break our... Actually, looks like it's loose already. I think. I can't tell. Kind of seems like it's loose. I don't know. We'll see. So, we can take this. Get my hands all cleaned off here. Get this rotor off now. Yeah. There you go. There's your wheel bearings. There will be an inner and an outer one. Alright. I'll set that down on the studs. I set it on the back of the rotor. And that's what you're going to use your brake clean for. Here's your wheel bearings. This one looks pretty. You see the grease looks, well, there's not that much grease, but it is pretty dirty. So, you want to repack your wheel bearings if they're dirty like that when you're, I can't tell. So, I'm trying to think. Looks kind of like it's broken loose. Well, our next things are to get the tie rod off there. Get it off the spindle. You're going to want to take your ball joint off. And we should be at the CB axle. It shouldn't be too hard to get off. And so if you want to replace your ball joints at this point, it's not close to. And I'll show you in a little bit how to tell if your ball joints or your tie rods are bad. So I'm going to try to decide what we should do next here. Alright, so I'm going to take the tie rod off. The outer. I'm not going to take it off, but I'm just going to pull the stud out so it's not hanging onto the spindle here or whatever. Try to save this cotter pin. Best way to get these cotter pins out is to kind of get them close together here. Sit like they do when they come from the factory. Clamp them together here. that guy out there. You can do these with pliers or with a hammer and a screwdriver. Sometimes they're real mangled up. This one's not horrible, but you might just have to cut it and pull it out piece by piece. You don't want to destroy them. The best way is just to work it out of there. Do a little bit of persuasive hammering or something too. Well, you guys kind of get the general idea. Everybody kind of gets the general idea here, but I'll get back to you when I get that cotter pin out. Shouldn't be too long. Alright, well I got the cotter pin out. So now we just got to take this nut off, and I'm trying to think if it's a, I think it might be a 19.2 that, or it's a 17. See, that one feels a little loose. 18, or that's an 18 right there. 18, I guess, right? Already did that. Alright. Take it out. I think I put that on there pretty good. Alright. Threads don't get too bumped up here. Alright. Now I'm gonna grab, got a tie rod removal tool. Hopefully it'll work. I'm not sure though. Doesn't look like it's going to. Actually, never mind here. It just works by screwing in and popping. Yeah. This guy off. They say you should lubricate the thread, so I'm gonna go do that. We'll be back in a second. Alright, I got the tie rod puller on, or the puller on there, I guess you'd call it. And you can pick these up at many different auto parts stores. Just go online and, or off Amazon or whatever. I'm sure it's kind of sitting on there straight though. Get that guy off there. Hopefully this will go as I plan. Kind of looks like it's slipping. They say you should lubricate the threads before you use these, so I took some grease and put it on there. Hopefully that'll work out. He doesn't seem to want to stick on there. Actually, there. Push that over there. Might end up having to use a pickle fork or just bop the end of this out. I don't know. Mess up this brand new. This is brand new tie rod end right here. I'm trying to make sure it kind of looks like it's hitting the threads in the back, and that's not good. Oh. tie rod pullers just make your life so much easier. There we go. Off just like that. Perfect. Caught that. So there's the tie rod off, and so let me show you what your tie rod should be like. So if your tie rods are good, they should move, but it shouldn't be loose. It shouldn't be very loose. See, this one's moving. Show you the stud moves, but you can see it's not super loose. I have to use quite a bit of force to move it. If yours is just flapping all over the place, or your boot's busted and you can see your grease inside is all black and gritty, you might as well just replace it while you're in here. So and that's how you know if your tie rod's bad. See, this one, you can see it's moving, but it's not floppy. If your stud's like super loose and flops around, that is not what you want, and that's definitely a bad tie rod. This one, though, on the other hand, is brand new, so I know it's good. Another thing you want to do if your tie rods aren't bad, get in here and grease your zerks, or get on your arm here. This is brand new too. Get in there and hit all your grease fittings. That'll help your longevity of your ball joints. So now I think I'm going to take my upper ball joint off. I'm going to find the socket size. I'm going to pop the CV axle out, and we'll get to replacing it. Alright, I'll get back in a bit and tell you the socket size and everything. See y'all in. Alright, now I've got my wrench set up. These are 13mm bolts on my pickup. I don't think they should be different on the other 1939, or are they? Seems like the wrench is slipping. I think they might just be 12s. Okay, we'll try it at 12 here. Never mind, it's a 12mm, I guess. There, that feels right. Just break these loose. These shouldn't be super tight, unless you got dirt or something in the threads. I'm only supposed to tighten these down to 15 foot-pounds or something. Once you pull these out, your ball joint is separated from your upper control arm, but not your spindle. So if you want to replace your upper ball joint, you're going to have to hit it with a pickle fork or some type of separator tool. I'll show you on the spindle here. It's just one big nut, and then there's a cotter pin holding the nut on. Shouldn't take nothing to separate this if you wax with a hammer or something. Kind of covered that up down there with a paper towel, so hopefully we're not getting too much dirt on that spindle that we'll have to. That'd be my headlight. Up there. There you can tell it's trying to separate. Yeah, this upper control arm's gonna kind of hard getting these back together sometimes, but there we go. All right, now there's the lower spindle. CV axle, you might have to separate it. Let me show you what I'm talking about here with the placing the ball joint. So there's your cotter pin right here, and then you have to take this nut off, and if you want to place this, you're gonna have to knock it out right there, right in between this boot and the top part of the spindle. You can see my boot's got some tears in it, but it's still not easy to move or anything like that, so that's a good ball joint. does feel a little rough, but still pretty good. You'll know if you have a bad one. It'll clunk and you'll go to move it and it'll just flop everywhere. So, all right, let's see if we can get the CV axle out of here. Shoot, sounds like it broke my camera. Uh-oh. Yeah, I think I did. Whatever. Alright. I think you should be able to pull this CV axle out without removing the lower ball joint, but we have to, that's alright. Well, let's see. Yeah, I broke my camera mount. I'll have to glue that back together. But it looks like we have to remove the lower ball joint nuts. I don't know. I'll work on getting that CV axle out of there and I'll let you guys know. Alright, well, we're taking off the lower ball joint. Loosen up to get this CV axle out of here, and I think that'll be the last part. Then we can take it off and replace it. So, there's a nut on the bottom you're going to have to hold on to while you take it off. And that size is, let's see, it's a 14 millimeter nut on the bottom, and on the top it is a 17 millimeter. I'm just going to use an impact. Right there, I think. Right. Uh-oh. There we go. Alright. That's off. Bolts out. Do the next one here. Get in there. The ratchet on this one. Sure you guys can see this here. Right down there. There. There we're on. These are torqued down a little tighter. I know when I took these off, I basically had to use an impact to get them out, but I'm sure if you get a longer ratchet, you can, or a breaker bar or something, you probably won't have too much of a problem breaking them off. But I actually don't have a breaker bar, I just use an impactor, this short one here. One. Alright, let's do these two on this side. There's 4 nuts and bolts on here. Alright, get that half inch. See, make sure. Yeah, I think we'll be able to get that in there. Right there. And there we go. Let's off that one. Yeah, impacts make everything so much easier. There's a little bit of pressure on there. packs make everything so much easier. You got the money and you want one, I go out and get one. Let's take this last one off. Alright. CVX highway. This spindle's gonna basically fall in my lap. Alright, there we go, on there. We're on. Oh yeah. That's off. Alright. There we go. Now we're at the CV axle. And we're kind of looking, seeing how you can get this off here. Remember, if you do not have an impact, you want to take this off at the very beginning. You want to get back in there, and I'll show you where the bolts are at here. That's the tripod, so you guys can get a good look when I take them off with the impact. But you're going to want to have somebody hold the brakes, or have some way. You can see it's right in there. So you're gonna want to have somebody hold the brakes for you or something. You're gonna want to get back in there with a 3/8 or something that can hit it off like that. There you go. Looks like they got Loctite on them. I gotta grab my new CV axle. And just spin it around, take those bolts out. And these are, I forgot to mention, these are 12 millimeter, kind of small. Oh. Oh, snap that one. Shoot. I don't know what we're going to do about that. Well, so we got 5 other ones. Well, I do have extra bolts actually. But I don't know how we're going to get that stripped one out of there. This is why you don't put Loctite on. Okay. Get these last two. Maybe they come with Loctite from the factory. I don't know. It's almost out. Another one, and let's get this last one here. Oh, that one did that too. Well, guess I'm gonna have to try to figure out how to get those out of there. But the CV axle's off. It's the important part, I guess. Oh, pretty greasy though. Let's see. Through there. Man. Get this out. CVs are kind of heavy too, so keep that in mind. I don't know how the hell you think you're supposed to get that out of there. Oh, there we go. Oh, alright. I'm gonna have to go get a bolt extractor or something to get those CV or these bolts out of here. I do not know, because I think that's the threaded portion. So, alright. Well, I'll get back to you guys with the new CV axle and I don't know, maybe some type of solution to get those out. Maybe some vice grips or something, I don't know. Alright, be back in a bit. Alright, well, it's the next morning, and pulled the axle shaft out with the two. Bolts are still stuck in it. And, getting a new one today, this morning. But, I got the wheel bearings all cleaned up, and I figured I'd show you how to repack them. So we're gonna get locked in there. See if it'll stay right there. Get some time. Some grease in there. Get some grease in your hands. And take it. This might not be the best video, but there's tons of them. Tons of other ones that'll show you how to do it. Good. Get quite a bit of grease. You can wear gloves if you want to as well. Get a ton of grease and just start sticking it in. Tight as you can. There. That. Make sure it's coming out the other side. Roll some around on the rollers. The goal is just to get as much grease as you can on here. And you don't need to repack these if this grease is clean and it doesn't have any dirt spots in it or anything like that. Or any grit in it. I'd recommend you clean these in a solvent like gas or brake clean or something before you do this too. Kind of try to clean if your bearings have grit and old like black grease in them. I try to clean that out too. So we're getting this here. This one is the outer wheel bearing here. Thing's pretty well packed. We're gonna do a little more though. That wheel bearing looks pretty well packed. Let's do the other one here. That one's the outer. That one's the inner wheel bearing. This one is the outer. Grease is coming out your rollers. I'd say that wheel bearing's pretty well packed. So that's probably good. I'm going to put those back in. And this back one, you have to take the seal out to get to it. And then you put it back in and pound the seal back in on top of it. I'll show that to you guys in a little bit. Alright, now we're going to put the inner bearing in. I just packed with grease. Got it right here. So just set that in there like that. Just make sure not to get grease on the brake rod. Get your bearing or your seal here. I think they say you should replace these, but I have that already now. I don't think it's that messed up, so just gonna want to take a wood block or something. Kind of start tapping it back in there. There's also a spring that goes around it. Kind of want to take your time on this. There, it seems like it's getting seated. Got a pretty good seal around there. Bearing spins so good. It's been too bad at all. So yeah, just take a block of wood or a rubber mallet and just go around and tap it in kinda. So that's how to do the grease seal on the back of the brake rotor hub or whatever. So, alright, well, I got the new axle in, and to get your CV axle in, you're going to want to remove this bump stop. It's going to make it a whole bunch easier. Take it out and kind of finesse it through this hole here. And then we're going to put this back on here. It's real important that you get that, these two circles. You want to get them pressed together. Your circle on your axle and your circle on your CV axle, you want to get them pressed together. Make sure that you get a good feel between them or whatever. I've got 2, 3, 4. Get the bolts here and we'll put this in. Need to find the torque specs too. Clean the Loctite off these bolts. Alright, now I've got everything set up. I got the bolts cleaned off of the old thread locker and put some new stuff back on. Just to drop to the threads there. Just to drop like that. Work it around there. Take that. Close here. had a nut caught into the socket, so let's get back to tightening this down. This thing. Okay, come on now. Tighten it up like this. Let me get a couple extensions here. And the best way to do this is to get something probably about 6-inch, 8-inch extension. Go in from the bottom of the CV axle. Real good like that. Get another one. Just a dab. Thread locker on there. There we go. Oh. Here we go. There, so I can hit this other one. A little bit thread lock. I'll put it in there. Just thread that in. We are catching this. Sure. It's got a gap there, that's not good. Make sure the axle is seated. The ring is seated in there good. There, that's her seat. Once you're done tightening, make sure there's no gap around your CV, because that is not good. That looks good. Alright. Looks like it's finger tight. Feels like there's some type of a gap around there. There's no gap there. Okay. Because if you get it down here to the bottom and you have a straight way to you got just a straight way to tighten this. Yeah. Or something like that. Turn that back. Now I think you guys get the idea. Just go around here and tighten all 6 of these bolts up. Make sure that your gap in between your CV right here and your hub or whatever, there's no gap. Make sure it's seated right on there. Alright, I'll be back after I get these tightened on. Alright, so I've got those 6 bolts tightened in, and I made sure that the that it's seated pretty well. And according to the official Nissan service manual, the torque for these 6 bolts is what's it say here? 25 to 33 foot-pounds for these. And depending on how you want to do it, you can you can torque them after. I think probably you get it done with the brake with it sitting on the ground and you apply the brakes or whatever. I might try to torque them right now, and then we're gonna move on to reinstalling the hub and the brake rotor and all that stuff, and the spindle back on there. And this ball joint is bad. Just to show you guys what a bad ball joint looks like. This ball joint's pretty bad. I'm going to be replacing this in the future probably. It's not horrible, but it's pretty bad. You can see how floppy it is and how I can easily move it. And it just, see how loose the joint is. That's what a bad ball joint looks like. Anyways, I'm going to try to torque these bolts down, and I'll get back to you once we start reinstalling that. So I'll be back in a minute. Alright, I've got this tightened up, and now we are going to do the upper and lower. We're going to put the upper and lower ball joint in there, and we're going to put the spindle back on here. So the torque specs for this top one, actually I'll pull it out in just a second, but so we'll do the bottom first. So get that back through there. I think. Go look at the other side, but I think the ball joint goes through the bottom like that. Your lower does. So here. Our ball joint, this is 12 millimeter, this is 17. These get torqued to 35 to 45 foot-pounds, I believe. Actually, you can't torque these. You gotta move your CV out the way while you torque these. So it's kind of a balancing. Get in here and hold this up your knees while you put that bolt through. Alright, get one on. Hold it together. Looks like another bolt here I'm missing. There's another one. Alright. These four through. Oh, like. Oh, come on. Oh. Come on. To hold the top of the wrench when you do these two. Okay, now it all should be lined up there. Alright. There's the second one. Ratchet there. Alright. Got a 17 millimeter ratchet. We'll have to get this one here. Use this. Use this one. So come in here to got nice and tight. And your long socket here. Tightening. So I think that's loosening it up. Oh, come on. Sorry about that. Over here, finish. Wrench. Uh-oh. Make sure that thing stays down in there. Oh, come on. There we go. Oh. Together it goes. It's getting kind of tight. Okay. You want to get all these snug before you torque them. Set your torque wrench. I'm going to set mine to probably 40. Uh-oh. So we're binding up. Set it up to 40 here. 40 foot-pounds. This one's 1/2 inch. I have an adapter for it. There we go. On the next one, I'm going to do these in a crisscross type pattern. Make sure you got your wrench holding it. Or your nut, or your bolt might just spin. Alright, come on. Oh. There. Alright. Over here and do this one. Oh, it's kind of loose. Get the ratchet again. Alright. Oh, come on, man. Okay. Got a little tighter on that one. Alright. Let's see the torque specs, I think. Socket. Down there. And I would clean all your stuff off with brake clean, get the old grease off, and then re-grease and grease it or whatever. There we go. And then we got just this back one left to hit here. back one right here. The wrench. Go. 4 foot-pounds. Now, so you can see the axle in there, kind of get seated, and get your ball joint up here. This is gonna be kind of hard, or it can be. Get that this to come down, seat on top of your ball joints. You're gonna want to get your bolts in there to hold it together while you can kind of tighten it. I'm sure you could use a C-clamp or something for this. You can kind of mess with the ball joint. See if I can down. Ball. Ball joint like that, maybe. Getting very close. Hey, you might want to put jack underneath here. I think that's what I'm going to have to do. Put jack underneath here with this arm up a little so you can get that seated. I'll grab the jack and I'll put it underneath there. I'll be back. Alright, I got that jacked up. I have to go even a little farther here. Let's try that. Okay. These are also right there. These are 12mm. Bolts right here. There we go. Tilt that up. Get your first bolt seated down in there. Oh. Want to go in. Get those down as tight as you can there. Kind of pull them together. do these kind of crossways here so that you can get all of them in the right spot in your ball joint. So I'm gonna have to loosen off this one a little bit. Actually, see, I'll try to bring it closer together. Actually, but I'm sure that's going to work. All right. I think we're gonna have to. So the way you do these, you gotta make sure. Seated, I can feel it. Now I'll tighten that one up. Let's go this way. Now let's thread it in. So, right down. That's another one. So to explain it the best I can, simply jack this up. Get your ball joints, your bolts, bolt them in there, and try to make sure that all your bolts, if you have to, loosen them and tighten them so you can get all the threads to match up, so that you can get all of them in there. And once you got them all threaded in, you can just kind of tighten them however. Don't forget to grease them. If you're installing new ball joints, it's not too bad. You just gotta hit them out with a pickle fork. The lower ball joint can be in there pretty tight. I'd recommend getting a press if you're gonna do lower ball joints on this, or have somebody press them out for you. And getting them out's the hard part. Putting the new ones in isn't too bad. These all get torqued down to 15, or let's see, grabbed some notes last night. Let's see what they say. Says your upper ball joints are 12 to 15 foot-pounds. And I'll go over the wheel bearing procedure. Because there's a special procedure you're supposed to do to set the wheel bearing in. Let me set my torque wrench down to kind of go so I can actually see. I'm going to set it down to about 15. And start up there. There's 15 right there. There's 15. 15. So my torque wrench is moving around a little. 15. Alright, now they're torqued. Now, I think what we should do next. Probably put the tie rod on. Alright. Your tie rod will be a 19mm nut. Should be. Alright. I think I can let off the I'll let that drip down. Alright, now let's put the tie rod in, hopefully. When you're putting tie rods in, You're gonna have to mess around with this ball joint a little. Look at them seats sometimes. That one went in pretty easily. Okay. Right. Just tighten it up. Spindle doesn't want to move. And when you're messing with the tie rod, you can take this dust cover off pretty easy. It's just a splash guard for your brakes, pretty much. It's just four screws or whatever. Alright, so how torquing tie rods works is you start off, and this is all ball joints, you start off with the lowest torque number that they list, and then you go up slowly from that lowest torque number until you can find your cotter pin hole. So move you guys back here. Hopefully the camera doesn't fall. There we go. So you start out with 40 and you can go up to 72 on these tie rods. Alright. We're at 40 and it looks like cotter pin hole is showing. I'm going to see if I can get this cotter pin through here. But it doesn't look like it can, so I'm going to go up to 70. And just slowly, if you can see the cotter pin and the cotter pin hole, just slowly rotate the nut around till it lines up again. So I'm just slowly going around, and there's my cotter pin hole right right here. This cotter pin's kind of mangled up, but it should. These holes are pretty spacious. You should be able to just. Hang right on through there. Get some needle nose pliers or whatever and bend this out, because this is what holds your steering together. Alright, now that's together. CV axle seated. Now we're going to move on to the wheel bearing torque and putting the rotor and everything back on. I'll be back with that in a bit. Well, it appears that the brake rotor is hitting this splash guard. The seat on there. Oh, come on. You can hear it, but I think it's gonna fix itself here. Anyways, alright, now let's get the seated on there well. Let's get the other bearing here. And take your bearing, make sure it's greased well, which this one is. Try not to get too much dirt on it. Take that guy and pop it right in there, just like that. Alright, now you'll want to get your lock washer. This is where your special tool you need comes into play. So, you go grab the lock washer and the tool. Alright, so I had this thing soaking in brake cleaner. I gotta clean it off. And we'll put it on. Yeah, I don't think you really want brake clean getting too close to grease because it disintegrates the, kind of disintegrates the grease, I think. So it's best if you try to clean off your parts before you grease them and all that stuff. Alright. It's pretty well clean, so let's get that. Alright, so turn it. So here's your tool you're looking for your Locknut. It just fits in there like that. This is like a 2 1/4 inch space or something. 2 1/4 inch space or something like that. So what you want to do is your first, make sure my threads are clean here, decently clean, because these are pretty fine threads, I think. And clean that out. I want to take that, put it on there. Grab my phone here, because this is quite a long process. So if you're doing it by factory, all right. So vehicle, blah blah blah. All right. So let me find this here. See, all right, here we go. So hold on. Alright, we gotta do preload adjustment is what they call it. So gonna need a torque wrench and that special tool. And alright, so it says you're supposed to put some grease on here. So I'm gonna take that off and do that. Doesn't have to be a lot. It says sparingly or something like that, which this manual kind of leaves it up to interpretation. Okay. Some people use Allen wrenches. I wouldn't recommend that. You're not going to get it seated very well using an Allen wrench, and you don't want this to be super tight or it'll overheat your bearing and burn it up. Just kind of hanging on there. There we go. Yeah. Alright, now grease that a little. Alright, I got that greased. Take your Locknut, make sure it's all clean and everything. Paper towel, clean this thing off. Alright, I'm going to start off by tightening this to 72 foot-pounds, so let's get that set up. My torque wrench over here. Alright, get your torque wrench and set it up to 72 foot-pounds. Alright, get that solid in there. Alright. Oh shoot, it's going to spin, isn't it? I want it to hold that against the ground. Let me tighten it. See if that'll work there. Okay. That. Uh-oh. You can go from 58. We might have to make a compromise and go to that because I don't think we're going to get 72 foot-pounds. Alright, we're at 58 here. Should be more than enough. There we go. Alright. Now that you torqued it to 58 foot-pounds and possibly messed up the threads. Blah, 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 so we're going to blah, blah. Alright, now you want to turn it. It's pretty tight. I'll turn that back and forth. What this is doing is seating your bearings in there. And you can feel them start to start to seat. It's getting easier to turn. I do this quite a few times. Alright. Now you're going to want to loosen it, completely back it off. Alright, now let's loosen this back off. You'll notice this is probably looser now. Nope. It's not. Alright, let's. Actually, I'm going to have to use the torque wrench to back it off. Alright. Should do it. Alright. Now I got it backed off. Back it off all the way like that. That's loose. That's loose enough. And you're going to want to tighten it back up to about 1 foot-pound. So what I do when I'm tightening up to 1 foot-pound is I set it on this little ratchet. I start tightening it real easy. Pretty much go until I just feel resistance. Alright, that's actually pretty too tight, so I'll just back it off a little. Now you turn it back and forth. And you can also check this with the scale, they say, but honestly, I'm not going to do that. You guys can. I'm pretty sure you can buy pole scales or whatever at auto parts stores, but it just seems like a bunch of work. Especially if you're torquing it the way they say and stuff like that. So, you want to make sure you're not getting any play, not on that, but on the hub. And you can see there's no play on there. And turn that. They say you turn it back and forth. And you can, sometimes you'll feel it loosen up a little bit. And they say tighten it Tighten it up a little more. There we go. That's probably 1 foot-pound. And then throw it back and forth a few times. So make sure we're not getting any hub play. That feels good. I'm probably gonna set it a little tighter. That's all you need. 1 foot-pound or whatever they say. And they say you should put on this little lock washer. There you can see it. And take that. Looks like we need to move it a little more. Here we get. See where we're at here. Yeah, alright. Tighten it down a little more. Oh, it's getting kind of windy. Oh, close, actually. Looks like we can throw, screw in. I don't know. I might back this off a little bit. And you can see it's a little bit of a trial and error process. Alright, that looks like. Just tighten that up a little bit. Just a tiny bit there. Oh. Make sure, guys, all your parts are clean before you do put this back together. Alright. I'm trying to tell if that's a screw. Yeah, that definitely looks like something you can. Alright, I'm going to take these 2 little screws, if you remember. 2 little screws here. You can find a little. These are flat. Good Phillips head bit out. Here, and these 2 little guys. And thread them in. Oh. Alright. Oh, it's right there feeling a little tight. There we go. Seat it. They say you turn it back and forth a couple times. Check it. That preload feels pretty good to me. So you should correctly. And they say you're supposed to check run out and all this crap, but I don't. And I think we can go a little tighter though, maybe. Actually, you can hear my brake caliper, or my brake is not rubbing anymore. I think I could go a little tighter though. Alright. So, actually, that feels good. I want more resistance than that. So, take these 2 tiny little screws out of here. Alright, screws are out. That guy out of here. And I'm going to tighten it down just a little more. Throw that back see if it up here. And oh, looks like I need to get to that next hole. I'm just gonna have to tighten it a little more. All right. So that's a pretty rough show of how you set your bearings, set your preload or whatever on here. Hopefully this will be a little tighter once I get done. Alright. I guess you'll know if you've set it right, if it burns up your bearings or not. Throw that in there. Don't to be super tight either. So, the tiny screw. Alright, take my last screw here, put that in. See how the preload's feeling here. Yeah, it's a little tighter. That's probably a little better. You can see I can spin it easy, but there's not. You can tell. Alright. Now we're going to put the hub back together and back on. Take this. We'll put, you can see there was RTV around this before. You're going to want to take a thin bead, put it all around here, kind of smother around with your finger, and put it up here, set it on there, and tighten it, and you should see the RTV coming out. And I grease the inside, I grease the splines a little bit, just enough, you know, or it's not wearing out or whatever. So just grease the splines, grease the inside, put this on. Don't forget to put your C-clip back in there, back in the, hold the axle shaft in. So I think that pretty much completes it. If you guys need help putting the hubs back on, just tell me in the comments. Shouldn't be that hard. So alright, thanks for watching the video, and if you enjoyed it, like and leave a comment what you'd like to see next for my next video. Thanks everybody.